After over 50 years of traveling across southern Indiana, living here, and making over 230 films about it, it's that time. The time to pick favorites, what I think are the very best things to see and experience. We're talking about a line from Graysville to Lawrenceburg, and everything down to the Ohio River. With literally hundreds of locations, it can be a little overwhelming, but that's okay. I'm a local and will be your tour guide. We have awesome parks, amusements, showcase, exotic trails, roadside attractions, museums, beautiful overlooks, charming small towns, national monuments, and not to mention Hoosier food and hospitality. We have much more than just corn in southern Indiana. You can take that to the bank. The following is a series of quests. Pick one and go on a road trip. Some of the tallest waterfalls in the state are at Clifty Falls State Park at Madison, Indiana. Big Clifty Falls is handicap accessible, the others are not. You can hike over to Little Clifty Falls. Further down the road is Tunnel Falls. There is a nice observation deck. But a better view is slightly down the path. And if you keep going, browse Tunnel if you feel adventurous. Bring a flashlight, a change of clothes and shoes. It does get muddy in the summer. And finally, Hoffman Falls. If you want to hike to the bottom, be advised that it takes about 45 minutes and is considered the most rugged trail in Indiana. You have to jump from rock to rock down Clifty Creek. I've done it several times, and it's not easy. Charlestown State Park at Charlestown has a very interesting history and is a pleasure to explore. Specifically, mysterious Rose Island. Not only the ruins of an old amusement park, but an ancient settlement estimated to be well over 1,000 years old. Early Clark County pioneers found what was described as ruins of a castle. In the 1800s, geologists made maps describing artificial walls built in antiquity. While some hints of this past remain, most of the stone was taken to build bridges, house foundations, and even the Big Four Bridge at Jeffersonville. What remains are ruins of a large amusement park that was completely destroyed by the flood of 1937. For over 200 years, people have tied Rose Island to the Prince Madoc legend, whom allegedly landed in the Americas hundreds of years before Christopher Columbus. Others simply say that the island is haunted by spirits of ancient people. All I can say is that it's hauntingly beautiful, and that it's a very tough hike back to the trailhead, with a very steep ascent. If they offer a shuttle, take it. Walking around Rose Island is easy. The trail to it is not. Whenever people come to town, I take them to the Big Four station at Jeffersonville. A place that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it kind of is. Once a railroad bridge, it's a pedestrian walkway to Kentucky, fully handicap accessible and totally free. If you want to, you can rent a scooter and ride all the way across. Good exercise. Great views. I will mention that there's a stairwell near the flood wall if you want to cut your ramp time. Art displays are nearby. As well as restaurants. A playground for the kids. And all of it lights up like a Christmas tree at night. A short drive west takes you to Clarksville in the Falls of the Ohio State Park. Here you'll find the largest exposed Devonian fossil bed in the world. And they give tours. The Interpretive Center Museum isn't huge. But it does have a good film. And many hands-on exhibits for the kids. But my favorite park in Indiana is Spring Mill State Park at Mitchell. First of all, a space museum. In the summer, the Twin Caves boat tour. A delightful pioneer village. The grist mill has a 3-story museum. And if you take the path along the creek, uphill past the village, you'll see Hammer Cave. If you can do a few stairs, Donaldson Cave is a great hike. It's considered the most beautiful cave opening in Indiana. Be sure to bring a flashlight and some extra shoes. You might get muddy. If you have training, equipment, and a permit, Bronson Cave is also available for exploration. But you will get wet, having to swim or float. Simply an amazing park. Down at Perry County is St. Joseph's Holy Family at God's Country, a religious-themed park that is exceptional. Dramatic natural features that remind me of Wisconsin. numerous interesting stops along the way. But we are just warming up for many awesome things ahead. Many people don't know that Evansville has a zoo. Lots of the usual suspects. Be sure to wear good shoes and keep hydrated. There's a lot of walking. But a tram ride is also offered. Let's begin with Holiday World, the oldest theme park in the United States, located at Santa Claus, Indiana. Free parking, free suntan lotion, and free soft drinks all day long. There's a lot to like here. Big roller coasters, lots of classics. Kids have their own theme park within a theme park. This even includes a train. Tickets hover around $60, and that also includes the largest water park in the Midwest. Two theme parks at Disney World would cost around $400 a person before you even got to the door. If you slide over to French Lick, Indiana, you'll find the Big Splash Adventure, both a hotel and indoor water park. If not staying at the hotel, you can still buy day tickets. At the bottom of the hill is Schott's Miniature Golf. And a few blocks away is year-round indoor go-karts. Popular in season is the French Lick Scenic Railway. It will take you through the Hoosier National Forest and the 2,200-foot Burton Tunnel, the second largest tunnel in Indiana. If you drive toward Paoli, you'll find Willstem Wildlife Park. You can drive your car through an outdoor safari of many animals. There is also a building filled with exotic creatures. My favorite being the giraffe. You can even feed them for an unforgettable experience. Traveling west on 150 will take you to Fredericksburg, an old mill canoe rental. You can float down Blue River, and at the end, a bus will bring you back. Milltown, Indiana has cave country canoes that also travel down Blue River. Many people go south of town to the shoe tree and throw their old shoes up as high as they can. Why? Because at Madison, you can catch a boat ride on the Ohio River, seeing some very beautiful country. But if you think that's all the adventure that southern Indiana has to offer, you're about to get an education. The biggest tourist attraction in southern Indiana are show caves. These are caves that have electric lighting, a paved path, and there is no muddy crawling. If you're not sure if you like caves, start with Marengo Cave Park in Marengo, Indiana. The Crystal Palace tour is only 20 steps down and up. It's like walking through an air-conditioned mall. If you enjoy the tour, get a discount ticket for the Dripstone tour. It's a little longer, but equally easy to do. Marengo Cave is widely considered one of the most beautiful caves in the world. And is a national natural landmark. There are also other activities outside, including gemstone mining for the kids. This involved buying a bag of dirt, putting it under a sluice, and going home with many treasures. Going southeast to Corydon, you'll find Indiana Caverns. There's a lot to unpack here. There's a one-person roller coaster in the parking lot. Escape rooms. Gemstone mining for the kids. And inside the main building, an incredible cave tour. This starts with a film about the cave. You then descend down a tunnel and a multi-level staircase. There are landings making it not so bad. You'll see a waterfall, a very big room, and prehistoric animal bones. There are many dramatic passages, with the highlight being a boat ride underground. While you only tour a small portion of the cave, it's part of the larger Binkley Cave system, the largest known in Indiana at over 43 miles long. Squireboom Caverns is just down Highway 135 at Mockport. It has a grist mill, Pioneer Village, Petting Zoo, zip lines, and one of the most beautiful cave tours you'll ever see. Lots of calming water. And one of the largest rimstone dams in the world. And this gigantic formation. The namesake of the cave, Squire Boone, is buried here. I absolutely love everything about this cave. Except the spiral staircase. It will take the wind out of most people. Take your time. If you find that you love caves and want something a little bit more, Wyandot Cave in Crawford County is the adventure you've been looking for. It's actually two caves. Little Wyandot is a small cave that most anyone can tackle. It's about 45 minutes long. But Big Wyandot is huge and will take about 2 hours to see only a small portion of it. You don't have to be an athlete to do it, but you must be in decent physical shape, as it requires climbing steep stairs in some places. Not to mention uneven inclines that require balance. You'll see remnants of gunpowder production for the War of 1812. They also stored military supplies in the cave. But way before that, an ancient people used the cave to harvest chert for both weapons and tools. You'll see crazy helictites that seem to defy gravity. Remnants of when tourists used to make sculptures. And one of the largest underground mountains in the world. The camera doesn't capture how epic this really is. Also on the tour is a temple, once used by the Independent Order of Oddfellows. If you're very tall, some of the tunnels will require stooping. These passages aren't incredibly tight, but they are long enough to cramp your style. From history to rare cave formations, this cave has it all. Truly, one of the greatest adventures underground. And finally, Blue Spring Caverns Park at Bedford, Indiana. It holds the distinction of being the longest underground navigable river in the United States that you can travel by boat. The hardest part is the ramp, or rather, climbing that ramp after the tour. Otherwise, this is a piece of cake. Once at the dock, you board a boat and take a quiet, relaxing journey. You'll see blind fish and crayfish. Neither have pigment. They don't need it. A very unique voyage that you'll never forget. But even more exotic adventure awaits above ground if you're up to the challenge. Crawford County has become my favorite place to hike and explore, with places like Hemlock Cliffs. Having descended through a narrow crevice, you're transported to a world of waterfalls. Caves. and where ancient people made their home thousands of years ago. It's a 1.2-mile loop, but will take much longer to investigate its secrets and appreciate the beauty of this rare place. Across country is the Yellow Birch Ravine. The eastern side has many caves. And a rare Indiana arch, the Tazewell Arch. The west side also has caves. But add to that many waterfalls, especially after a good rain. On the far western side of the state, at Mount Vernon, is the Twin Swamps Nature Preserve. Bring extra clothes and shoes. This is almost always muddy, but worth it. Near the back is a rare stand of bald cypress trees. It looks exactly like the Florida Everglades. Simply one of the most unexpected finds along my many journeys. There are literally hundreds of roadside attractions, but a few stand out. This includes the Medora Bridge at Medora. It's the longest historical covered bridge in the United States, a whopping 461 feet long. Not too far away is the Medora Brick Factory. If you didn't know better, you'd think this was some kind of ancient village. Across country at Tunnelton is the Tunnelton Big Tunnel. It's 1,731 feet long and has a long history of ghost stories. It's been a tradition for kids to dare each other to walk through it. When I went, I actually caught the green phantom light on camera. Natural phenomenon or something else, you be the judge. At Olytic is the Empire Pit, where over 18,630 tons of limestone was cut to build the Empire State Building. And downtown is the Joe Palooka cartoon character from the 1930s. But if you drive out to Williams, you might just find a little solitude at one of my favorite places. The first being the Williams Covered Bridge. The second being the Williams Dam. At Trinity Springs is an abandoned mineral spring. The rock behind it is special. It has the names of young soldiers that carved their names before leaving to fight in the Civil War. This is well over 150 years ago. At Shoals is Jug Rock. It's a rare table rock 60 feet high and 20 feet in diameter. And along the river is House Rock. Native Americans used it as a council room. Later people used it as a place to gamble. Across White River and down River Road is Spout Spring, a favorite watering hole for hundreds of years. And right next to it, the Bluffs of Beaver Bend. This is where people have looked for Native American treasure for centuries in the many caves. Going so far as to dig a tunnel to try and find gold. I took a look, but no gold here. 8 minutes south is Hiendawson Falls. Legend has it that Native Americans hid gold underneath the falls. No mention of southern Indiana would be complete without the dome at West Baden. It was at one time the largest dome on Earth. Simply magical at Christmas. One of the wildest places I ever visited was the Wesley Chapel Gulf at Orleans, Indiana. It's a part of the underground Lost River and basically where a section of cave has collapsed. After a hard rain, it's a violent place of churning water. Over at Orangeville, this peaceful-looking pond actually goes down 10 stories before it disappears in a subterranean cavern. One that no one has ever explored. Some say it could go hundreds of miles, maybe as big as Mammoth Cave, except filled with water. At Cannleton is the largest Celtic cross in the world, cut from a single piece of limestone. And not far away is Lafayette Spring, where General Washington's trusted Major General, the Marquis de Lafayette, was once shipwrecked. The spring still flows, but I wouldn't drink it. If you travel to Santa Claus, Indiana, you'll find America's first Santa Claus statue, built in 1935. And in the same place, the only post office in the world to ever have the name Santa Claus. Even to this day, thousands of letters addressed to Santa from across the world are received and answered at Santa Claus, Indiana. You can even write your own while you're there. Just south is the historic Candy Castle, built in 1935. Still in business and stocked with tons of candy. But to find the largest Santa statue in Indiana, and one of the largest in the world, you have to visit Evansville. I knew I had to get my picture next to it. Just like next to this epic popcorn bucket at Jasper. And just down the road, the Geode Grotto. A Catholic priest and helpers harvested thousands of geodes from Heltonville, Indiana, to build this unique and lasting monument. Without a doubt, there's a lot to see in southern Indiana. It just depends on what you're into. There's definitely more, especially if you want to learn something. If you travel to Vincennes, you can learn a great deal about the beginning of our state, starting with a tour of grassland. It was future President William Henry Harrison's mansion when he was governor of Indiana Territory. This was built before Indiana was even a state. And within walking distance is the first Indiana Territory capital. Not too far away is a museum dedicated to Hollywood comedian Red Skelton. Even if you don't know who that is, you'll likely still have a good time. Across town is the Indiana Military Museum. Outside are tons of planes. Even the top of a submarine You know you want your picture next to it. One admission gets you into two museums. The first starts at the Civil War and goes to modern times, with many small arms and uniforms. The second museum is much larger and is incredibly impressive. You can walk through a World War I trench. There are World War II dioramas, and even a cathedral that was used in a World War II movie. So much to see here. Heading over to Evansville is the Evansville Museum of Arts, History, and Science. The first building covers a little bit of everything and even has a planetarium. The second building focuses on transportation. Out back is a train you can tour. Families with small kids will enjoy SEMO, the Children's Museum of Evansville. Near the Ohio River is the LST-325, an actual warcraft that saw action during World War II. While I wasn't allowed to film inside, the Wrights Mansion is likely the fanciest home I've ever toured. Built by a man who made a fortune in hardwoods. And on the eastern edge of Evansville is the Angel Mounds Interpretive Center. There isn't much to the indoor museum. Less than a dozen ancient artifacts out of over 2.5 million that were found here. I'd like to call it an outdoor museum where families can walk among ancient earthworks. One of the most unusual museums I found was at Rockport, the Rockport Pioneer Museum. The vision of a man that idolized Abraham Lincoln. Every structure represents the life of the former president, where he lived, went to school, where he went to church, where he worked, people he knew. The Hollywood film The Kentuckian, starring Burt Lancaster, was filmed here. Inside the museum, you can see a cabinet made by Thomas and Abraham Lincoln. Reenactors occupy the buildings during the regular season. Our next museum is way over at New Albany, the Culbertson Mansion. Once owned by the richest man in Indiana, it's an opulent showcase of what money can do. Over at Jeffersonville is the very unique Vintage Fire Museum, showcasing antique fire equipment all the way back to the 1700s. Closer to the river is Shem's Confectionery, established in 1891. Part museum, Factory, and Candy Outlet. It is certainly a nice stop. A few blocks away, along the Ohio River, is the Howard Steamboat Museum. The Howard family operated a shipbuilding business and asked workers that made the beautiful steamboats to walk across the street and work on the house. It absolutely shows. There are 2 additional Ohio River mansions. The first is the J.F.D. Lanier Mansion at Madison. Mr. Lanier was a banker that saved Indiana from bankruptcy when the canal boat industry failed. And during the Civil War, he also provided money for Union troops. This was the first remote site of the Indiana State Museum. And finally, we arrive at Aurora and the Hill Forest Mansion. The front of the house was built to resemble a steamboat. A wonderful step back in time to tour these places. You could spend the next few years of your life visiting the many county museums. There are tons of them, and they all have a unique story to tell. Sometimes you just want to hit the road and see something beautiful and calming, and southern Indiana is just the place. Such as from the tower at Clifty Falls State Park in Madison. At Hanover, at the back of Hanover College, is a wonderful view of the Ohio River. The most famous vista in Indiana is the overlook at Leavenworth. You can easily see Kentucky from this beautiful spot. A little further west at Fredonia, heading west towards Magnet, is Buzzard Roost, a nice platform that overlooks the Ohio River and hardly ever has any people. Right above Magnet itself is another favorite. At Cannelton is the Eagles Bluff Overlook Park. Fully handicap accessible, you can push a wheelchair to the observation deck. It's a great view of the locks and dam. A short distance to Troy is the Christ of the Ohio Overlook. The statue is the work of a former German POW that was imprisoned at Kentucky during World War II. And the view is magnificent. And finally, the John T. Meyer Locks and Dam at Mount Vernon. From From the observation deck, you can see where the Ohio and Wabash rivers meet. They go downstream to form the mighty Mississippi River. Just a wonderful way to end a long journey, and great place to catch a beautiful sunset. Sometimes you just want to get away from the big city, not from people so much, but from places that have become too busy. And New Harmony is one of the first places I think of to do just that. It was the site of 2 utopian experiments, and I always have a sense of peace when I visit. You'll see a labyrinth, gardens, a roofless church, and the old buildings of a time that once was. This includes a wonderful museum of curiosities at the Working Men's Institute. My favorite exhibit is the 8-legged cow. You just don't see that every day. New Harmony is a wonderful place to just park the car and walk around. Or if you prefer, rent a golf cart and drive around at leisure. Corydon has become my second hometown, although I've never lived there. It was the second Indiana Territory capital and the first Indiana state capital. You can tour this stately building and think of the history that happened here. Included in the Capitol tour is Governor Hendrick's home. And if you walk around, you'll find William Henry Harrison's office and the Constitution Elm. The Discovery Center tells about what makes Harrison County special. It's a great place to walk around town and soak up the past. Or just sit at the gazebo, taking it all in. You can watch a glass-blowing demonstration at the Zimmerman Art Glass Factory. Or drive just outside town and stand on the only Civil War battlefield in Indiana. Salem has a stately square and so much to experience. A pharmacy soda fountain, a donut shop with a good apple fritters, and a coin-operated model train. A Mexican restaurant on the corner. And not one but 2 museums. The first, a local history museum. Including a pioneer village. And the birthplace of John Hay, President Lincoln's personal secretary. And just across the way, the depot. Not just railroad artifacts, but a huge model train in the basement, patterned after the actual town of Salem. New Albany is a portrait of small-town America, where all the richest people of Indiana once lived. There are lots of classic buildings for a walking tour. In the old Carnegie Library are history and art exhibits. And in the new library basement, the animated genuine dioramas. Both museums are completely free. For me, it's always the observation deck above the river that overlooks the giant bandstand. And finally, Madison, one of the best preserved 19th century towns in America. A place to shop, eat, and experience what used to be. Or walk along one of the best waterfronts of the Ohio River. Madison never disappoints. Each town has something special and waiting for you to make it yours. It might surprise you to know that southern Indiana has two national memorials, the first being the Lincoln Boyhood National Memorial at Lincoln City, Indiana. A huge limestone exterior housing a very unique place. There's a film about Abraham Lincoln, a museum, a post office, a meeting hall, and even a chapel where people have been married. This has always been a special place to me, and I've traveled here many times when I simply felt lost. On the hill is a pioneer cemetery where Abraham Lincoln's mother was buried. He never got over it, and I can easily say that I understand. There's a lot of space to unload your thoughts with a trail of 12 stones. These stones came from places and experiences in his life. This was once thought to be the Lincoln family cabin, encased in bronze, and a working pioneer village. There's just a very solemn quality to these grounds where Abraham lived, something you can feel. At Vincennes is the George Rogers Clark National Historical Park. This is where George Rogers Clark conquered British Fort Sackville, arguably changing the course of the Revolutionary War. There's a beautiful memorial made in the 1930s, like something transported from Washington, D.C. It shelters a huge statue of George Rogers Clark and very large murals depicting his conquests. Despite his incredible achievement, Virginia never repaid him for his wartime expenses. For the rest of his life, he was chased by debt collectors, a pauper instead of a celebrated hero. The area feels timeless and unchanged, no matter how many times I've been there. Sometimes change is hard, and being around things that never do is a certain source of comfort. There are many iconic places to eat in southern Indiana, but perhaps the most iconic of all is the Log Inn at Hobstadt, Indiana. A former stagecoach stop built in 1825, it's the oldest restaurant in Indiana, 200 years old. Future President Abraham Lincoln ate here when he campaigned for Henry Clay. The food is always good. And if you like chicken livers, they have some of the best I've ever had. The Gasthof at Montgomery is my favorite buffet. Home-cooked Amish food. Come back as many times as you want, one price. You know a restaurant is good when you go home and start thinking about the next time you can come back. I've been a fan of Chicago's deep dish pizza since I was a teenager, and since I moved to southern Indiana, I've lost count of how many times I went to French Lick just to get a deep dish and breadsticks. But probably the most iconic pizza in Indiana is from Pizza King. The Pizza King at New Albany not only has the pizza, but a train that brings your drinks. It's a very thin crust pizza. Many say it's the Hoosier pizza. Sometimes you just want comfort food, and Norma Jean's at Borden serves it up each summer. Phenomenally good. Let's just say that this will leave a mark. Everyone in southern Indiana has their favorite drive-up ice cream place, like Bomax at Shoals. Just a side of fried mushrooms and I'm going home. Whoops, I slipped. Polly's at Edwardsville has the food and the vibe, changing very little from the 1950s. It's Indiana, so I have to get a tenderloin. It's the law. Oh look, an actual banana boat. And let's not forget Lazy Sundays at Georgetown. The cardiologist called to see if the high fiber and tofu were working. He might be a little disappointed in me. Zestos has been a New Albany favorite for decades. Barbecue? Yes. I've dumped a bunch of money here in the hope of ever being skinny. Eating rich food like Chillbillies at Madison that appears on no reasonable diet is just part of the southern Indiana experience. Oh no, you didn't. Oh yes, I did. And if it mixes with a warm breeze on a summer night, it doesn't get much better than that. Moderation in everything, including moderation. There are so many wonderful things to experience in southern Indiana. Believe me, just when you think you've seen it all, there's more. Some things come in small packages, but turn out to be breathtaking and much more than you expected. I've met lots of genuine nice people in my travels, discovered odd histories, explored mysterious places, and chased a legend or two. It's been a long road, but a great ride, an absolutely unforgettable journey. I spent a small fortune to document the places I love and share them with strangers. I hope to provide a sense of adventure, an inexpensive trip for a family with kids, a peaceful getaway for someone that needed it, or help someone remember good memories from the past, and perhaps inspire a new generation to love Southern Indiana like I do, making someone feel a calling that just maybe it's time for a road trip.